Neo-Tokyo, 2471. The city pulsed beneath her, glass, steel, and neon arteries threading between colossal spires. Drones hummed overhead. The air shimmered with digital noise. Raya Vex stood on the balcony of a 200-story tower, her chrono gauntlet glowing dim blue against the silver of her enforcer armor. Below her, a time disruption had been reported. Minor but dangerous. The target, a black market time hacker operating out of an abandoned train station 2 minutes from now, and 2 centuries off schedule. Lock coordinates, she muttered. The gauntlet chirped. Destination, 2272. Arrival in 4 seconds. Raya clenched her jaw. Time didn't frighten her. She was its master, its weapon. Jump. Reality twisted, colors smeared, sounds reversed. Then silence. The world snapped back to life. She was in the derelict station now, overgrown and broken by centuries. Steam hissed from fractured vents. Dim lanterns flickered over scrap piles and illegal tech. She moved silently, a ghost in armor, until she heard him. The hacker. He was young, early 20s, wired into a rusted console scavenged from a collapsed Koru relay. His fingers danced across flickering holograms. Sweat dripped from his brow as he forced open a buried timeline, probably trying to retrieve a memory or undo a personal tragedy. He never saw her coming. Time manipulation is a capital violation under Article 7 of the Pact, Raya said, voice sharp, unwavering. He turned. His eyes widened in fear. Wait, I didn't change anything. I just wanted to see. Please don't. Too late. Raya activated the gauntlet. A flash of blue. A ripple of reality. He collapsed. Consciousness erased from every moment he'd ever touched. Clean. Efficient. But something lingered. From the console, a soft beep sounded. An auto-upload triggered by the purge. A final message encoded in a data crystal. Her gauntlet pinged. Message origin. Temporal pattern alpha Vex. Identity match. 100%. She froze. She picked up the crystal, slipped it into her visor, and played the file. Her own voice. Broken, breathless. If you're hearing this, then they've erased me. They rewrote your mind. You trusted them, Raya. You helped them. But they're not protecting humanity. They're harvesting us. Stop them. Stop. Yourself. The message ended. Silence again, except for the pounding of her heart. She didn't remember recording it. She couldn't have. The Koru embedded fail-safes in every enforcer. Temporal loops were scrubbed from memory, overwritten by loyalty. Still, the voice was hers. The cadence. The fear. A lie, she told herself. But it didn't feel like one. She stood there too long. A shrill alert rang in her comms. Protocol breach. Emotional irregularity detected. Report to Enforcer Command for recalibration. Raya swore under her breath. She tapped the crystal. It dissolved into static, erased from her gauntlet, as all unauthorized time data must be. But she remembered the words. They rewrote your mind. Back in the present, she walked through the Neo-Tokyo Spire corridors like a ghost. Everything gleamed with precision. Order. Obedience. The Koru had gifted Earth these towers. Saved humanity from itself. That was the truth she'd enforced for years. But now, a seed of doubt had cracked open inside her. A voice, her own, had whispered rebellion. And for the first time since donning the armor, she wondered what might grow from it. Outside the spire window, a child drifted by in a floating school orb. He smiled and waved. Raya didn't wave back. Not this time. She turned and walked deeper into the tower. And she didn't report for recalibration. The Pact unveiled. The Hall of Time loomed like a cathedral carved from obsidian, orbiting Earth in eternal silence. Inside, it pulsed with chrono energy, blue veins of light crawling across the walls like arteries of time itself. Raya Vex entered through the central atrium, flanked by towering statues of Koru emissaries. Their elongated heads and hollow eyes stared down at her. Cold, watching, judging. Her boots echoed as she crossed the polished floor toward the Enforcer archive, pretending nothing had changed. But everything had. She couldn't stop hearing her own voice from that crystal. They rewrote your mind. She passed through retinal scans and memory lock checkpoints. When she reached the archive's core, she paused. Her gauntlet trembled. The air here was colder, more sterile. Access, Project Genesis, she said. The system blinked red. Access denied. Restricted under Koru directive. Override, she said sharply. Enforcer ID Vex 17, Level 5 Authority. There was a pause. Then the wall shimmered, revealing a single document, heavily redacted. Title: Pact Codex, Earth Integration Protocols. She opened it. The first few lines were familiar. The Koru arrived in 2136, stabilizing Earth's decaying climate, halting wars, gifting technology in exchange for one law. Time was theirs to command. But then came what no one was supposed to see. Integration Protocol 3A. Timeline compression and compliance conditioning. It described how the Koru had modified Earth's history, collapsing events to increase docility. Political resistance leaders erased. Cultural revolutions stalled. Scientific breakthroughs delayed or credited to Koru guidance. Humanity wasn't just helped. It was edited. Harvest ready by 2500, the final line read. Raya stepped back from the console, while rising in her throat. They hadn't saved Earth. They'd cultivated it, pruned it, like a garden meant for someone else's table. Enforcer Vex. She turned fast. A familiar face stood in the doorway. Commander Trask, her mentor, the man who trained her. He wore the polished black of high command, his face unreadable. You're out of line. She hesitated. You knew. I knew what I was allowed to know, he replied. And so do you. They're rewriting us. He took a slow step forward. Yes, because we couldn't stop destroying ourselves. They brought order, peace, at the cost of truth, at the cost of extinction, Trask said. Without them, you wouldn't even exist. Raya's fingers curled into fists. Then what am I protecting? Trask's voice was soft, almost regretful. The only future we were allowed to have. Suddenly, her visor flashed red, breach detected. She spun. A hole tore open in reality beside her, like glass shattered in midair. Through it stepped a figure in living obsidian, faceless, segmented, utterly alien. The Null, one of the Koru's synthetic hunters. No questions, no trials, only erasure. Raya moved fast, drawing her chronoblade. The Null struck first, silent, efficient. Its claws sliced into her shoulder. Sparks flew. She countered with a burst of temporal displacement, blinking behind it, slashing low. The Null staggered, glitching briefly. Trask didn't move to help. He just watched. She knew what that meant. She threw an overcharged pulse grenade at the Null. The explosion shredded it into light and dust. Raya turned to Trask, panting. He stared back, unreadable. Run. She didn't wait. Outside the Hall of Time, Raya burst into the docking bay, hijacked a transport drone, and dove into Earth's atmosphere. The hull burned red as she plummeted through clouds, her thoughts louder than the wind. They had lied, not just about the war, or the Pact, or time. They had lied about humanity. We weren't protected. We were pacified. She needed answers. Real ones. From outside the official records. From those the Koru had buried. If they'd erased her before, they could do it again. Unless she moved first. The Reclaimers. The sky over the waste was cracked with thunder and ash. Here, outside the Koru-controlled territories, time bled. Chronoscars, jagged tears in reality, flickered across the landscape, warping air and memory alike. Raya's stolen drone crash-landed at the edge of what used to be Denver. Now it was known as the Red Line, the ruins of cities and lives abandoned by the Pact. No temporal stabilization, no enforcement, just chaos, but also, rumor had it, freedom. She limped from the wreckage, her shoulder burning, gauntlets sparking. A storm of dissonant time energy howled around her, disorienting. She saw flashes, herself as a child, a soldier, a stranger, all in one breath. Then the figures emerged. 10 of them, armed. Unmarked armor, scavenged tech. They surrounded her with the wariness of people who had lost everything and trusted nothing. Enforcer, one growled, leveling a weapon. You're a long way from your masters. Raya raised her hands. I'm not with them. Not anymore. Sure you're not. A tall woman stepped forward, eyes sharp beneath a cracked visor. She studied Raya with a hint of recognition. Hold, she said to the others. I know this one. The others hesitated. The woman removed her helmet. Graying braids, scars across her cheek, eyes full of fight. I'm Juno Cade, founder of the Temporal Reclaimers. Raya blinked. The name stirred something deep, forgotten but familiar. You were declared a terrorist, Raya said, voice dry. Juno smirked. I prefer survivor. Raya collapsed to one knee, pain overtaking her. They didn't shoot. They dragged her into the red line instead. The Reclaimer's base was buried beneath a fractured subway system, sealed off from the shifting temporal storms above. No alien tech, no surveillance, just humans living rough, engineers, medics, old rebels, even children. As Juno treated Raya's wounds, she spoke. They call us broken, dangerous. But the truth is we're what's left of humanity before the Pact clipped our wings. She tapped a relic on the wall, a battered photograph of a space shuttle launch. Human-built, human-dreamed. They didn't save us, Juno said. They reset us. Raya swallowed. I saw the files, the timeline compressions, the missing revolutions. I saw what they've done. Juno nodded. And yet, you still wear that suit. Raya glanced down at her armor. For the first time, it felt like a prison. I didn't know, she said. No, you forgot, Juno replied quietly. Because they made you. She pulled out an old data chip. You weren't always one of them. You joined us years ago. You led missions, saved people, fought to break the Koru's stranglehold. Raya stared. Then why don't I remember? Because they caught you, Juno said, and reprogrammed your mind, wiped your past, rebuilt you as the perfect enforcer. Raya closed her eyes. The voice from the crystal echoed again. They rewrote your mind. You helped them. Stop yourself. I'm not that person anymore, she whispered. No, Juno said. But you can be. She stood and gestured toward a large, humming device in the corner. Homemade, crude, but powerful. This is a chrono shard, she explained. If we implant it at the right point in the timeline, we can fracture the Koru's control. Force history to correct itself. It won't be clean, but it'll be ours again. Raya stared at the device, then at the Reclaimers, wounded, starving, hopeful. You need someone who can breach time safely, she said slowly. Someone with training, enforcer clearance. Someone like me. Juno's eyes sharpened. You'd risk it? After what they did to you? They broke me, Raya said, rising to her feet. I'm going to make them regret it. For the first time in her life, she felt the armor fit differently. No longer a symbol of obedience, but a weapon of rebellion. Race against time. The Reclaimer's war room was a hollowed-out train station fused with salvage tech and glowing temporal maps. A single pulsating line ran through the holographic Earth. The timeline, fractured, manipulated, enslaved. Raya stood at the center, gauntlet repaired, armor patched. She was no longer just an enforcer. She was a traitor, a threat, and now a key. Juno Cade paced beside her. 3 moments. We hit them in 3 moments that shaped the timeline, disrupt their control, force history to remember itself. Raya nodded. Where? Juno pointed. 2094. The suppression of the global peace movement. 2151. The Martian Exodus, where independent colonies were sabotaged. 2136. Koru Arrival Day. The beginning of the end. These were human victories, Juno said, her voice low. Until they weren't. The Koru rewrote them to turn us into clients, not citizens. Raya strapped the chrono shard to her back. Let's take them back. Target 1. 2094, Geneva. The Peace Summit hovered in a crystalline dome over Lake Geneva. In the original timeline, world leaders had agreed to dismantle nuclear arms. That hope died in the rewrite. A mysterious explosion killed the delegates. War followed. The Koru arrived decades later to save Earth. Now, Raya crouched in the rafters above the summit floor. Below, young leaders gathered. Optimistic, human, unaware of their impending erasure. She scanned for the anomaly. There, a temporal cloaker, disguised as a technician, was planting a charge laced with chronoweave. The explosion wouldn't just kill. It would erase the moment from history. Raya dropped. One clean shot. The cloaker hit the ground. Gasps filled the summit chamber. She didn't stay to explain. As security scrambled, Raya leapt through time. Target 2, 2151, Mars Colony Beta. Red sands stretched beneath her boots. Mars was never supposed to be abandoned. The first fully independent human colony, until its systems failed. The Koru later claimed credit for reviving it. But now Raya saw the truth. An Enforcer squad, her old unit, stood near a buried relay. They were here to shut down life support and pin it on human error. Raya activated her disguise matrix, slipping into their ranks. The unit commander, a younger Trask, gave the order, "Cut Relay 3." Raya hesitated. Her fingers hovered above her gauntlet. Then, blinding speed, she turned, disabling 2 operatives and crashing a pulse blast into the relay core. The others scattered, stunned. Trask recovered quickly, blade drawn. "Who the hell are you?" She dropped the disguise. "Someone who used to believe you." They fought, brutal, personal, silent. At the last moment, Raya disarmed him. But she didn't strike the final blow. "Why?" He gasped, bleeding, beaten. "Because this is what they made me," she said. "But it's not who I am." She left him alive. Behind her, the Martian relay rebooted, its signal once again human. Target 3, 2136, Earth orbit, arrival day. The stars trembled. Below, Earth waited, still untouched by alien hands. Raya stood in stealth armor on the edge of the original Koru beacon platform, where the first signal had been sent. This was the seed event, the place where Earth had begged for help. Except it hadn't. A disguised Koru agent had planted a fabricated distress beacon. A lie. Raya planted the chrono shard at its base, locking it into the beacon's core. Alarms triggered. A null-class assassin emerged from a fold in space, blades drawn. This one was faster than the last. Smarter. They clashed, pulse strikes and chrono shifts lighting up the platform. Metal screamed. Time stuttered. Raya was losing. Until another form joined the fight. Trask. Older. Changed. Alive. He blasted the null with a modified time disruptor. The creature shattered into flickering pieces. He met Raya's eyes. "You were right." She stared, stunned. "No recalibration?" she asked. "I broke the loop," he said. "Because you didn't kill me." Together, they activated the shard. As the beacon imploded, the chrono shard sent shock waves down the line of time. Reality flickered. Moments long buried began to re-emerge. Protests, launches, discoveries, defeats, and victories. A history born from struggle, not manipulation. And somewhere deep in the time stream, the Koru hive stirred. Earth was no longer under their control. But they were coming. The final loop. The sky over Earth cracked open. A rift wider than any before split the stars, pulsing with alien geometry. The Koru High fleet emerged, shimmering with weapons forged from folded dimensions. For the first time in centuries, they came not as saviors, but as conquerors. They had felt the ripple. Their timeline fractures. The Pact had been broken, and they were here to restore it. On Earth's surface, inside the Reclaimer's red line base, chaos reigned. Alarms screamed. Generators shook. Chronomaps burst with red. Juno slammed her fist on the table. They didn't wait. They're skipping diplomacy. Total overwrite incoming. "Then we skip negotiations too," Raya said. She tightened her armor, adjusted the upgraded chrono gauntlet, now patched with Reclaimer code and her own modifications. No more automatic resets. No more programmed loyalty. She looked to Trask, scarred but standing with her now. "Are you ready?" she asked. He gave a dry smile. "I miss fighting for humanity." The plan was simple. Insane, but simple. The Koru fleet controlled time through the anchor, a hidden structure orbiting outside normal space, existing in all timelines at once. Destroy the anchor, and their hold over Earth's past, present, and future would collapse. Getting there meant one final jump. Not through time, but outside of it. Raya stepped into the temporal vault with Juno, Trask, and a handful of Reclaimers. The chrono shard buzzed on her back, now overloaded, charged for a single, one-way detonation. Once we breach the anchor, we plant the shard, she said. Then we fight until it ignites. Juno nodded. No way back. No, Raya said softly. This is the way back. Jump. They tore through the fold, slipping into a realm of paradox and memory. Time collapsed into fragments. Echoes of history flew past. Wars never fought, children never born, cities never risen. In the center of it all, suspended in impossible geometry, hung the anchor, a construct of light and living machinery. Pulses from it rippled down every thread of human history. As they approached, guardians materialized. Not nulls. These were something older, Koru true forms. Glowing beings of thought and bone. Human deviation detected, one intoned. Correction required. Raya didn't answer. She attacked. The Reclaimers fought like they were writing a new chapter with each blow. Trask covered Juno as she cracked the outer casing of the anchor. Raya moved faster than time could follow, warping seconds, dodging intentions, striking truths. But it wasn't enough. The anchor began pulling them in, rewriting the present with every breath. Then Raya saw it, a temporal conduit, feeding from her own past. The Koru hadn't just used her as an enforcer. She was a node, a living link stabilizing the timeline. Destroying the anchor would collapse her very existence. She looked at the shard in her hand. Only she could place it. Only she could detonate it. Fall back, she told them. Juno blinked. What are you? Get clear. This is my story to end. Raya sprinted into the heart of the anchor. The Guardians closed in, but too late. She drove the chrono shard into the core. Time shattered. She saw it all at once. Her entire life in one infinite instant. The training, the lies, the missions, the crystal with her true voice, the rebellion, and then nothing. A warm, silent nothing. Earth, 2,500. The sky was quiet. The Koru were gone. In the new timeline, children studied human history. Unbroken, flawed, but true. There were statues of astronauts, of peace protesters, of Martian pioneers. And in the center of Neo-Tokyo's Memory Plaza, an armored figure cast in steel, standing against a storm that never came. No name, just a plaque that read. She took time back. Juno stood before it, older now. Beside her, Trask watched the crowds pass. She saved us, Juno said. Trask nodded. She restarted us. From the crowd, a girl in training armor stared up at the statue, wonder in her eyes. Hope, reborn.